From VTV Channel 6 Studios in downtown Vernal, this is Local Point with your host, Chris Piner.
Welcome to Local Point, brought to you by Ashley Regional Medical Center. I'm your host, Chris Piner. Joining me in the studio are representatives from the Ashley National Forest today. We have Kim Bartel and Renee Arce. Right, so it's good to have both of you here. Maybe we can start for our viewers with just a brief introduction of yourselves. Who wants to start?
I'll go. My name is Renee Arce. I'm actually new to the basin. I came over from the Wasatch Cache National Forest over there, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm glad. It seems like every time we do one of these shows, we've had you on before, and other representatives of the Forest Service. It's always somebody new, right? Always is. So it's good to have you. Is it
Thank you.
The new guy that you send down to Local Point? Is that how it works, Kim?
Evidently. Yeah. or those of us that just forget.
Or those who forget. All right. Well, go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, too.
Kim Bartel, I've been in the basin for about 30 years. Worked with the BLM for quite a while, 24 years, and then transferred over to the Forest Service. Been there for 6 years now, and glad to be there.
All right. Very good. Well, it's good to have both of you on Local Point. We always like to have you on and talk about the things that are going on in the Ashley National Forest. First of all, we're entering the fall season. The forest is really, when do people go and enjoy?
Well, I think when the fall starts to change and the leaves start to change, people kind of get that little bug. They want to get out and feel that. So
for the last time before it gets too cold?
Exactly.
Well,
so
I guess where I was going is you can enjoy the forest even through the winter? Is that right?
Yes.
It's really year-round.
Year-round.
Okay, all right.
The fall is a special time. Everything's changing, and a lot of people just love to get out.
Right. What are some of the things that are unique to this season as far as public recreation and enjoyment in the forest?
Well, I think one of the most unique things for the season, obviously, just the scenery. You know, it changes so much from the regular spring and the summer, in the middle of summer. It just changes so much. It becomes beautiful.
So this is, how are people seeing this? Are they doing it like, I know you have the trails for ATVs?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are other ways to see the forest as well, but I know that that's a big one, right?
Yeah, that's a huge one for this area, specifically for my district. A lot of good ATV trails. A lot of good places to go explore.
Are there maps for these things? How do people know where to go?
Yes, there are travel maps. They're available at the office. They're available at other places around town.
Right.
Here in Vernal, Cal Ranch, Basin Sports.
Stop by there and you can pick them up and find out where to go. Are there new trails?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to add new trails and improve the trails that we have. One of the things that we just added was an option to go onto the website and download the travel map onto your GPS, or just look at the travel map. There's an interactive map there that's really helpful. You can do that online from home whenever you want.
All right, high tech, right?
Yeah.
That's cool, very cool. So it's a good idea for people to stop by and pick these maps up or go to the website. Do you know the website off the top of your head? We could just mention it here.
Yeah, it's, I would just Google it. It's kind of a long one.
Just look up Ashley
National Forest.
Ashley
National Forest.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to find it.
And you'll find it right away. Okay. How has tourism been thus far this season? Either of you?
I think it's been a good season for us. Last year, because it was so wet and we had late snowpack, there were a lot of people that couldn't even get up into the high country until even as late as early August. So this year it seemed like a lot of people wanted to travel. So we've seen in the campgrounds and in the high country up in the wilderness trailheads, we've seen a great influx of people. The parking lots have been rather full.
All right. As far as camping goes, how can you camp year round also, or do the campgrounds close at some point in time?
They're open now, of course, and we only have one campground over on the Roosevelt Duchesne side, which is closed because it's being reconstructed. We'll have a really nice campground. The Moon Lake campground will be opened hopefully probably by midsummer next year if it gets paved this year. The campgrounds themselves, we have 25 developed campgrounds and group sites, and they'll be open, a majority of them will be open this fall until the snow flies. And if we have 3 consecutive days of freezing temperature, some of the water will be turned off.
Okay. Now there are other things that people can do when it turns winter as well, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about those in the next segment. Besides, we're also surrounded by these beautiful, colorful panels behind. I'm sure our viewers is just as curious as I am about what these are, so we'll catch those in just a moment as well. Okay. We'll be right back to hear more from Kim Bartel or Renee Arce after this message from our sponsor, Ashley Regional Medical Center.
If you need an MRI, CT, or nuclear medicine study, here are some things that you should know. Ashley Regional Medical Center has the most advanced technology available in rural Utah. The radiologist at Ashley Regional has 2 board certifications in the field of radiology, including nuclear medicine. The technologists at Ashley Regional are skilled, friendly, and informative in meeting your needs. From X-rays to CTs, Ashley Regional is northeastern Utah's choice for quality radiology services.
Welcome back to Local Point. Joining me is Renee Arce and Kim Bartel of the Ashley National Forest. We were just talking about some of the things that you can do this time of the year in the fall, and I want to kind of go back there a little bit.
Okay.
Either of you take this a little bit, but before we start to see that change in weather, do either of you, maybe both of you, have recommendations of some places that families might go and take a little weekend jaunt or enjoy a little bit of the scenery?
Yeah, a good place really close to town here in Vernal is the Dry Fork Flume Trail up Dry Fork Canyon. It's a beautiful non-motorized foot trail. It's a pretty easy walk. It's very scenic, and that's the one I would recommend for families to go up.
All right. Do you have one?
I think for us, perhaps up in Rock Creek, where the Upper Stillwater Dam is. There's a nice hike up there that you could leave from about where the dam is, and then you could head 6 miles down, and you can come down through the aspen, the ponderosa, the Doug fir, tall rocky canyons on either side. There's mountain sheep up in there, and you get down towards the campground. You can cut back across and shuttle someone back up. There's also the Stillwater ponds, which are below that.
All right.
Should be real pretty.
I knew you'd both have great recommendations for that kind of thing. For those who don't really understand some of the geographical terms you mentioned, again, would this be the maps on the maps that they could pick up?
Yeah.
On the website?
Yeah. All of the trails, the motorized trails, are on these maps that we're really trying to get people to have in their hands when they're out. You can look at all the other trails also on the website.
Like a hiking trail and that kind of thing. Could I come down to the office or someplace and say, where can I go? Where can I take a nice?
Yeah, they'll definitely point
help
you
us out with
to
that
the
kind
right
of thing.
direction.
We have a National Geographic trail map, which is good for all the wilderness trails and the foot trails that are off of the wilderness down in the lower country as well.
All right.
You can get those at the Duchesne office.
And this is also what you were talking about with the downloadable stuff for GPS? Would it be for like hiking, that kind of thing?
As far as I know, it's just the motorized.
Just the
and
motorized,
the reason
okay.
we're really wanting people to have that in their hand is because we're kind of shifting the way we sign trails and roads.
Right.
Where instead of having the marker with the trail number and then what's allowed and what's not allowed on that trail or road,
right.
we're just having the trail number, and we're leaving it up to the public, to everyone, to just have those maps and reference those numbers with the map to know where they can and can't go with their ATVs, with their
Right.
any vehicle.
And does that change seasonally? I mean, as the ground gets a little bit wet, are there certain
there are some roads that are under a seasonal closure, but again, all the roads, as soon as it starts getting wet, that's one reason we close the gates so those roads don't get ruined. So
right.
So
When
yes,
they're wet,
yes.
the weight and the traffic of the vehicles then damage. All right. Well, that makes sense.
Chris, there's a couple things on that map that might be helpful to the user as well. They'll notice on many of the segments on the map itself, it'll show a dot. There'll be small dots along the edge of the road, which identifies those areas as being available for dispersed camping within 150 feet of that identified route. If that's not on there, then you need to go to an area that either identifies that or go to a developed recreation area.
Right.
We've tried to identify as many segments as we could. Earlier in this plan, we looked at where do people most commonly want to camp and go, and we tried to identify as many of those routes as we could.
All right. Thank you. And I know that you also have available things like yurt rentals and ranger station, or are there cabins as well, or is that what they mean by ranger station?
They are cabins. They're old guard stations that the old Rangers used to use. They'd stay there and patrol on horse. And what we've done is you're able to go onto the recreation.gov website and rent these cabins for, you know, a family outing, for one night, for a few nights.
So they could do it right from the website.
You can, you can book it, and it's ready to go with the cabins. And we also have 3 yurts on the Vernal district that are available as well.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we're running out of time, but I definitely want to get to these panels. Who can tell me what are these?
I can take a shot at that, Chris. Back in 2007, there was a fire that started on June 29th. There were several engines from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the ORA tribe, that responded. And the fire grew in intensity and in size over the course of one day. I believe it ended the first day maybe around 20,000 acres. People remembered it as the Neola North Fire. So what we did was we went after some money after this fire had concluded, and we thought it would be fitting to have some type of, not a memorial as much as it is an education area where people can understand how do you secure your property and your home to keep it safe from fire, as well as to educate the people on when a fire does burn, is it a disaster, or are there things that come back? And one of the panels, the one that's on my right, shows the succession of what it looked like before, immediately after the fire, and then a couple of years later after the fire burned. One of the nicer panels would be this middle one, which is the way these are set up on the overlook on the Elkhorn Loop Road, which is north of Bacon Park. Is there are 4 interpretive panels, and the middle one will lay down in your view as you look at this panel, and it has the whole chronology of the fire event. As you look right through it, and you can look down 3 miles into the area of right where the fire came across when it killed these 3 gentlemen.
Right, so it's not only a memorial, and it certainly has that. I was reading this one over here just before this segment, but also very educational.
We hope it is.
And in the proper place, right, where it happened. That's great. And these are going to be installed with some sort of ceremony?
What we'd like to do is we'll be determining a time to do that, and then we're contacting the families to make sure that they're there.
That they're present.
So we can do this all together.
You guys are always up to good stuff. They're very beautiful.
Thank you.
I think the families ought to be very happy with those.
We hope so.
We appreciate you coming down. We always like to hear about what's going on in the forest, and there's always something going on. What a great job you have.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today's show. That's all for now. Please join us next time right here on VTV Channel 6.